old iron. One day, James had to wait at the station till Edward and his train came in. This made him cross. Late again. Edward laughed, and James fumed away. After James had finished his work, he went back to the yard and puffed onto the turntable. He was still feeling very bad temper. Edward is impossible, he grumbled to the others. He clanks about like a lot of old iron, and he is so slow he makes us wait. Thomas and Percy were shocked. Old iron? Slow? Why, Edward could beat you in a race any day. Really, said James. I should love to see him do it. The next morning, James's driver was suddenly taken ill. He could hardly stand, so the fireman uncoupled James ready for shunting. James was impatient. Then suddenly the signalman shouted. There was James puffing away down the line. All traffic halted, called the signalman. Then he told the fireman what had happened. Two boys were on James's footplate fiddling with the controls. Phew! They tumbled off and ran when James started. The signalman answered the telephone. Yes? He's here, right. I'll tell him. The inspector is coming at once. He wants a shunter's pole and a pole choir rope. What for? Wondered the fireman. Search me, but you better get them quickly. The fireman was ready when Edward arrived. The driver saw the man. Good man, jump in. Boop, boop. We'll catch him, off Edward. James was laughing. What a lark, he said. Suddenly he was going faster and faster. He realized that he had no driver. What should I do? I can't stop. Help, help. We're coming, called Edward. Boop, boop. Edward was pounding up behind with every ounce of steam he had. At last, he caught up with James. Steady, boys, said his driver. The inspector held on Edward's front, holding a noose drawn through the construction pole. He was trying to slip it over James's buffer. The engine swayed and lurched. At last, got him, he shouted. He pulled the noose tight. Gently braking, Edward's driver checked the engine speed, and James's driver scrambled across and took control. So, the old iron caught you after all, chuckled Edward. I'm sorry, whispered James. Thank you for saving me. You were splendid, Edward. That's all right, replied Edward. The engines arrived at the station side by side. Whoop, whoop, Sir Topham Hatt was pleased. A fine piece of work, he said. James, you can rest and then take your train. I'm proud of you, Edward. You should go to the works and have your worn parts mended. Oh, thank you, sir, he said. It'll be lovely, not James in a mess. Toby and Henrietta were enjoying their new job on the island of Sodor, but they do look old-fashioned and did need new paint. James was very rude whenever he saw them. Yuck! What dirty objects, he would say. At last, Toby lost patience. James, he asked, why are you red? I'm a splendid engine, he said. Ready for anything. You never see my paint dirty. Boop, boop. Oh, said Toby honestly. That's why you once needed bootlaces, to be ready, I suppose. James went redder than ever and snorted off. It was such an insult to be reminded of the time a bootlace had been used to mend a hole in his coaches. At the end of the line, James left his coaches and got ready for his next train. It was a slow freight, stopping at every station to pick up and set down cars. James hated slow freight trains. Dirty cars from dirty sidings. Yuck! Starting with only a few, he picked up more and more cars at each station till he had a long train. At first, the freight cars behaved well, but James bucked them so crossly that they were turned to get back at him. Eventually, they reached the top of Gordon's Hill. Heavy freight trains hold here to set their brakes. James had had an accident with cars before and should have remembered this. "Wait, James, wait," said his driver. But James wouldn't wait. He was thinking what he would say to Toby when they next met. The freight car's chance had come. "Hurrah, hurrah," they laughed, and banging their buffers as they pushed him down the hill. On, wailed the cars. "I got to stop, groaned James. Boop, boop. Disaster lay ahead. Boop. Something as sticky as splashed all over James. He had run into 2 tar wagons and was black from smokebox to cab. He was more dirty than hurt, but the tar wagons and some cars were all to pieces. Percy and Toby came to help. "Look here, Percy," said Toby. "Whatever is that dirty object?" "That's James, didn't you know?" "It's James's shape," said Toby. "But James is a splendid red engine, and you never see his paint dirty." James pretended he hadn't heard. Boop, boop. Toby and Percy had took away the unhurt freight cars and helped James home. Soon the top of the hat was waiting for them. "Fine piece of work," he said. Then he turned to James. "Fancy letting your cars run away. I am surprised. You're not fit to be seen. You must be cleaned at once. Toby should have a new coat of paint." "Please, sir, can Henrietta have one too?" "Certainly, Toby." "Oh, thank you, sir. She will be pleased." All James could do was watch Toby as she ran off happily with the news. Duck takes charge. "Do you know what?" asked Percy. "What?" said Gordon. "Do you know what?" "Silly," said Gordon. "Of course I don't know what, if you don't tell me what is." "Sir Topham Hatt is getting a new engine because he said the work is not enough for me to do alone." "Rubbish," said James. "If you would work harder and do more work, this place will be a sweeter and more happier place." Percy went off to get some coaches. "That silly signal," he said. He did not like reminded of the time he went backwards when he about backing signal. "I'll show them. The engines don't trust me anymore. I'll show them," he said. Then Percy brought some coaches to the platform. Sir Topham Hatt was there. "Well, hello, Percy. You look exhausted." "Yes, I am, sir. I don't know if I'm standing on my dome or on my wheels." "You look just right fine to me. Listen, the engine is bigger than you and could probably do the work alone. Would you like to work at my new harbor? Thomas and Toby will help too." "Oh, yes, please, sir." Then later, the new engine arrived. "What's your name?" "Montague, sir, but I'm usually called Duck. I don't take it seriously, but I like Duck better than Montague." "Good, Duck it shall be. Beep, beep. Percy, this is Duck. Show him what to do. When Gordon, Henry, and James found out, they thought it was funny. Then they started doing some tricks. He seems a simple sort of engine, said Henry. We'll have some fun and order him about. Whee! Shot. Smoke billowed everywhere. Soon Percy puffed in. He was cross. They'll get tired of it soon. Did they do this to you? Percy? Yes, said Duck. Said Percy. All right, said Duck. We'll settle it. So then they made a plan. Sir Topham Hatt was enjoying porridge when he heard in the yard. Quick! He said, and then they rushed into the yard. Then Sir Topham Hatt spoke to them. Silence, he said. Duck, explain this nonsense. Dead pardon, sir, but I'm a Great Western engine. We do your work, and since I listen to you, we suppose these engines that we only take orders from you. Boo! Silence, said Sir Topham Hatt. Percy and Duck, I'm pleased with your work so far, and I'm proud, but I'm not for this advantage. And then he said, as for you, said Sir Topham Hatt, you did this honest. You should honestly do that. After Percy went away, Duck had been doing the work very well. He's been doing it very well. Down a mine. One day, Thomas was waiting at the junction when Gordon popped in with some freight cars. Remarked Thomas. What a funny smell. Can you smell a smell? I can't smell a smell, said Annie. A funny, musty sort of smell. No one noticed it until you did, grunted Gordon. It must be yours. Not long ago, he had fallen into a dirty ditch. Thomas enjoyed teasing him about it. Annie, Clarabelle, do you know what I think it is? It's ditch water. Before Gordon could answer, Thomas puffed away. Annie and Clarabelle were dreadfully shocked. He's very rude. I feel quite ashamed. He's dreadfully rude. And to Thomas they said, you mustn't be rude. You make us ashamed. But Thomas didn't hear a bit. That was funny, said Thomas. Annie and Clarabelle were dreadfully shocked. They had news for Gordon, the big engine. Next, Thomas went off to a mine for some cars. Long ago, miners digging for lead had made tunnels under the ground. Their roots are strong enough to hold up cars, but not the weight in engines. A large notice warns them not to enter this area. Danger! Engines must not pass this board. Silly old board, said Thomas. He often tried to pass it, but never succeeded. But this morning he made a plan. The fireman went to throw the switch. Now for my plan, said Thomas, bumping the cars fiercely. He jerked his driver off the footplate and followed him into the siding. Come back, yelled his driver. Firing smoke, said Thomas. I'm sunk. And he was. Oh dear, thought Thomas, I am a silly engine. And a very naughty one, too. I saw you. Please get me out. I won't do it again. I'm not sure. We can't lift you out with a crane. The ground's not firm enough. Let me see. I wonder if Gordon could pull you out. Yes, sir, said Thomas, but he didn't want to meet Gordon just yet. Down a mine, is he? Laughed Gordon. What a joke! Get the boop boop, little Thomas. We'll have you out in a couple of puffs. Boop boop. Long cables were fastened between the two engines. Are you ready? Hey! It was a lot harder than they all thought. At last, Thomas was free. I'm sorry I was cheeky, said Thomas. That's all right, Thomas. You made me laugh. I'm in disgrace. So am I, said Thomas. Why, so you are, Thomas. Shall we form an alliance? You help me and I help you. Right you are, said Thomas. Good, that settles. And Buffer, the allies puffed home. Boop. The runaway. Thomas the tank engine is ill. Workmen tried to make him better, but it was no use. Everyone must take you to the worst, said Sir Topham Hatt. Thomas felt most embarrassed. Then Sir Topham Hatt spoke to Duck. I want you to take care of Annie and Clarabelle while Thomas is away. Duck felt delighted. He already knew Percy and soon became friends with Toby and Bertie. Terence the tractor gave him a good welcome too. Take care of Thomas's coaches, he advised. He's sure to miss him while he's away. Annie and Clarabelle were surprised. Such nice manners. We're pleased to go out with him. A few days later, Thomas came back, and when he was so happy to be back there, he couldn't be jealous. The workmen had checked Thomas's brakes. It seems that they are on when actually they're not. And then experiencedly they missed the platform as they moved in. Thomas found this most embarrassed. Soon the driver fireman learned how to do it. But one day Thomas's fireman was ill, and a relief man took in his place. Soon Thomas was waiting, but the foreman had forgot all about Thomas's brake. Not long now, said Thomas as he saw Henry approaching. Suddenly, Thomas's wheels began to move. He tried to stop, but he couldn't without his driver and fireman. He tried to blow his whistle, but he couldn't do that either. Soon Thomas had left the passengers. The conductor left behind. Stop! Stop! Cried the coaches. But Thomas, filled with put-up steam, kept on going. The alarm went down the line. Stop the runaway! They are ready for action, was Harold the helicopter. The inspector made a plan, and they took off into the sky. At last, Thomas was getting tired. I need to stop. He puffed vaguely. Then, when he approached the next station, he saw Harold land. They approached the platform slowly for the inspector to act. Waiting gently, the inspector clambered into the cab and screwed the brakes on. At last, Thomas stopped. Both he and the inspector were very relieved. Then they thanked Harold. Think nothing of it. Glad to be at service any time. Well, Thomas, said the inspector, we must never let this happen again. And Thomas agreed with him. Better late than never. The engines had to be very careful when crossing the viaduct. The Arctic bridge is being repaired, so engines have to cross the bridge. They'll have to be very slowly. And even when they go across the viaduct, it will make them when they and cross the viaduct slowly. They'll be very late where Thomas is waiting to pick up his passengers. Thomas was growing cross. Time's time, he said. Why should I wait every day? And while Henry and James dawdle about all day on viaducts. Don't blame me, said Henry. If we hurry across the viaduct, it might collapse, and then you wouldn't have no passengers or anything. What would you do then? Round my time on one thing, said Thomas. Before he can answer, Thomas puffed away. Bertie, however, was being impatient too. He has arrived just after Thomas, but the passenger seats, instead of just going to the platform to the train, they had to keep waiting until Thomas arrived. That Bertie grew cross with Thomas. Late again, he said, as Thomas just puffed in. We may be friends, but I thought you could go fast, Thomas. It's time we have another race. I think I could beat you now. Thomas was concerned. Rubbish, he said. It's those mainline engines. They dawdle about all day on viaducts, and then they just go off, blaming Sir Topham Hatt's passengers. One day, James was better late than never at the station. I'm sorry, Thomas. I was held up at the station, and the viaduct made it worse. It's good for you that I'm a guaranteed connection, said Thomas, and before you can answer, Thomas puffed away. Come along, said Thomas. We're coming along, said Annie and Clarabelle. Good. Thomas was getting close to make up the lost time. Good. Then suddenly Thomas saw Bertie. There was steam and he was oil leaking. What's the matter? Said Thomas. You should be at the station by now. You're late. I feel dreadful, he said, and so does my driver. And driver says he can't make me better. Could you take my passengers? They won't get home in time. Of course, said Thomas. Thomas now felt sorry for Bertie and promised to get help at the next station. And Bertie's passengers arrived right on time when Thomas arrived. And Bertie was mended. He came to thank Thomas. I was sorry I was teasing you, said Bertie. That's all right, said Thomas. And with a happy bowl, the two friends went back to work. The tenders and turntables. Gordon and Henry were very sad when Thomas left to run his branch line. They missed him very much. Had more work to do and had to fetch their own coaches. They were grumbling about it. James was grumbling too. We get no rest. But the coaches just laughed. You're lazy and slack, they said. And they were getting cross that they had to fetch their own coaches. And this was giving Sir Topham Hatt a great deal of trouble. Soon the big express engines had to go on the turntable because it's not safe for them to go backwards. They had to go forwards when they're pulling a train. Little tank engines like Thomas don't need turntables. They can go just as well as backwards than forwards. You don't understand, little Thomas, said Gordon. A big express engine like me doesn't shine. We're not supposed to fetch your own coaches. And that's for a fact. And another thing, we don't need to go on those dirty sidings. Boop, boop. Thomas just laughed and puffed away. Disgraceful, said Gordon, as he puffed angrily on the turntable. The turntable was in a windy way. Gordon's heavy weight was so strong that the wind was pushing him, and he couldn't stop because the wind was pushing him. Gordon's driver tried to stop, but the heavy wind pushed him, and he tried to make Gordon stop, but Gordon wouldn't try. It's no use, said his driver. You're too heavy for the balance of the turntable. If you were a little tank engine, you'll be all right. Now we have to pull the next train backwards. Oh, look, it's a new tank engine. Oh, it's only Gordon, they said. Well, said Thomas. Are you playing tank engines? Gordon just ignored it. Everyone laughed when they heard about it. Even James laughed when he saw him. Take care, he said. They might do it to you, too. Never fear, said James. I'm not as fat as you. Then James went on to the turntable. I mustn't disappoint it, he said. James stopped on the right place to balance the turntable. Gordon arrived just in time to see everything. James spins so easily, but then James realized something. James was going so fast that he couldn't stop. Well, said Gordon. Are you playing roundabouts? James, feeling quite giddy, went sulkily into the shed. Afterwards, the three engines called a team meeting. Everyone, it was been an awful day. Gordon had to go backwards, and people thinking he's a tank engine. James spin around on it like a top, and after that, we had to fetch our own coaches, as our Todd had makes us go on those dirty sidings. Listen, said Gordon. He whispered to the other engines. We'll do it tomorrow. Sir Topham will be very silly. The three engines decided to go on strike. Percy proves a point. Percy worked hard at the new harbor. There were stones. Toby helps, but sometimes they were heavy, and Percy had to take them themselves. One day, Thomas saw Percy. Well done, Percy, said Thomas. Sir Topham had things were really useful engines. An airfield was close by. Percy heard the airplane buzzing all day. The noisiest of all was a helicopter. Silly thing, said Percy. Why can't it go buzz somewhere else? Later, Percy stopped at the airfield. Hello, said Percy. Who are you? I'm Harold. Who are you? I'm Percy. What really great arms you got. They're nice arms, said Harold. I can hover like a bird. Don't you wish you could hover? Certainly not. I like my rails, thank you. I think railways are slow, said Harold. They're not much use and quiet all day. He whirled his arms and he buzzed away. Later, Percy saw Toby. I tell you, Toby, that Harold, that stuck whirly up bird thing, says I'm slow and out of date. He collected his cars and puffed away. Beep, beep. Suddenly, they heard a familiar buzzing. Percy, look. Harold, he's not far away. Let's race him. Yes, said Percy. Percy bounded along the freight cars right behind him. Hurry. Well, I'll be a ding-dong-dang, said the fireman. There was Harold. The race was on. Go it, Percy, he said. You're gaming. Percy had never gone this fast before. He was enjoying it. Hurry, said Percy to the freight cars. We don't want to, they said. Percy didn't care. He was buckling along with high wheels, and Harold was flying alongside. The fireman was shoveling dear life. Well done, Percy, shouted his driver. You're gaming. We're going ahead. Oh, good boy. Then Percy was battling along around the rails, but there was a sign up ahead. Slow down, pin down brakes. Beep, beep. Brakes, conductor, please. The conductor blew the brakes and they slowly rolled. They rolled on along the main line and halted on the wharf. Oh dear, Percy thought. I'm sure we lost. The fireman struggled up to the cab roof. We won! We won, he said. Harold's still hovering. He's looking for a place to land. Listen, boys, said his fireman. Here's a song for Percy. He sang Harold's helicopter to your Percy, you were slow. The railway's out of date, and not much you should know. But Percy and the stone cars did the trick in record time, and we beat the helicopter on our own branch line. Percy felt surprised. Oh, thank you, he said. He liked the last line better, best of all. Trust Thomas. Thomas the Tank Engine was feeling bright and cheerful. It was a splendid day. Good morning, he whistled to some cows, but the cows didn't reply. Never mind, said Thomas. They're busy with their breakfast. Next, he saw Bertie. Hello, Bertie. Care to race today? But all Bertie could say was, ouch! That's another hole in the road. What's wrong, Bertie? The road needs repairing. I don't know why it needs repair. I don't need roads. I don't need rails. Huh, said Bertie. The railway was supposed to bring some tar a few weeks ago, but it's not here. Don't worry, Bertie. I'll find out where it is. And Thomas puffed away. Meanwhile, James was very cross. He was shunting cars. It's not fair, he said. I gotta shunt cars and bang the cars hard. Oh, they said, just you wait. We'll show you. Gordon laughed. I'll tell you what, James. If you pretended you'd be ill, you couldn't shunt cars, could you? Good idea, said James. Look, here comes Thomas. I'll start doing it now. Hello, said Thomas. Is it a good day? Yes, indeed, said Gordon, but not for James. What's wrong, said Thomas. He's sick. Yes, he is. I am, said James. I don't feel well at all. Don't worry, said Thomas. I'll do your work for you. Gordon and James sniggered quietly to each other. Some of James's cars were coupled behind Thomas, but then the car said, we couldn't pay James back for bumping us, so we'll play tricks on Thomas instead. As Thomas puffed along the line, he collected the slate and set off back to the junction. Danger lay ahead. Now for our plan, giggled the freight cars. Go faster, go faster. And they pushed Thomas over the switches. Slow down, called Thomas the driver, and applied the brakes. Woo! Poor Thomas lay dazed and surprised in a muddy pond as Toad eyed him suspiciously. Bust my buffer, said Thomas. The day started so well, too. Dad pulled away the cars, and Edward helped Thomas back to the junction. Suddenly, Thomas remembered, and he told Edward all about it. That's strange, said Edward. A car full of tar is left at my station. That must be it. Soon, James and Gordon felt sorry. I'm sorry about your accident. So is Gordon. We didn't mean to get you into trouble. Yes, indeed, said Gordon. And no understand, Thomas. Then the two engines puffed silently to the sheds. But Thomas still had company. Well, said, what a day for surprises. And the Toad agreed suspiciously. Percy and the signal. Percy worked hard at the new harbor. He loves playing jokes, but they can get him into trouble. One day, Percy was being cheekier than ever. Beep, beep, hurry up, Gordon. The train's ready. Gordon thought he was late. Ha, 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 laughed Percy and showed him a train of very dirty coal cars. Gordon thought how to get back at Percy for teasing him. Next, it was James's turn. Stay in the shed today, James. Sir Topham Hatt wants you to pull a train. Ah, said James. Sir Topham Hatt must know I'm a reliable engine. He wants me to pull a special train. His driver fireman couldn't make him move. The other engines were cross. They had to do James's work as well as their own. Boop, boop. Boop, boop. At last the inspector arrived. Show a wheel, James. You can't stay here all evening. Sir Topham Hatt told me to. He sent me a message this morning. He didn't. How could he? He's away for a week. Oh, said James. Oh, where's Percy? Boop, boop. Percy was far away. But when Sir Topham Hatt came back, he was cross with Percy and James for still causing confusion. Percy was still being very cheeky. Sir Topham Hatt wants me to pull the scoot train. He must know I'm a very reliable engine. More likely, he wants you to get out of the way, said James. Gordon sniggered to James. They were going to play a trick on Percy. James and I were just talking about signals, he said. But we can be confident, you know, but not to a very useful engine like you, Percy. We have spoken of backing signals, said James. They need special care, you know. Would you like me to explain? Thank you, James. I know all about signals. Percy wanted to know. I wonder what backing signals are. Never mind, said Percy. I'll manage. Then he saw a signal ahead that meant red, but said its arm went up instead of down. Percy never seen that signal before. Down means go, and up means stop. So up or still must mean go back. I know, it's one of those backing signals, said Percy. Come on, Percy, off you go then. Stop! You're going the wrong way. But it's a backing signal, said Percy, and he told about Gordon and James. His driver explained. Oh dear, he thought. Let's start quickly before they see us. But it was too late. Gordon has saw everything. That night, when the other engines heard them, they thought it was that night the engines heard the news. They thought the nuisance was funny, but Percy thought they were very silly indeed.